Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be covering how to create a simple familiar part like the paperclip using the OnShape software. So let's go. Here you see an example of the part that we're going to be creating. It's a simple paperclip. However, there are some complicated features inside of this. The circles are not centered, so we're going to have to apply offset circles. I'll show you how to do that. In addition, we're going to need multiple features, including a plane that we can create a secondary sketch on, perpendicular to the original sketch, that we can apply a new feature called sweep. So let's go into OnShape and get this thing started. Just like any other file in OnShape, we start under the Documents tab, click the Create button, and select Document. We can call this one Paperclip. Once the file starts, we're going to lay this thing out very strategically. I need to make sure that when I create the profile of this paperclip, I give myself a position to begin the secondary feature perpendicular to the profile. And what that means is when I start my sketch, I want to make sure that my starting point is at the origin. This is going to allow me to create a perpendicular plane after I finish the creation of the actual sketch. So I'm going to start my line right at the origin. We're also going to use the front plane to begin with. So here I'm going to start a sketch on the front plane. I'm going to rotate, and I'm going to leave all my other planes open. This isn't a very complicated shape, so it doesn't really matter how much is on my screen. It's not going to get too crowded. I'm going to start with a straight line. The straight line that I'm going to begin with is a 12-inch line from the origin point down. So here I'll start at the origin and draw a line straight down. The length of this line doesn't matter when you terminate it because we're always going to use our dimensioning tool to make sure our lines are perfect. The dimension for this particular line, according to our Google Doc, says that it's 12 inches. So we're going to change this dimension to 12. Clicking on the front face of my cube is going to get me zoomed back out so I can begin the next step of my sketch. Back in the Google Doc, it says that I now have to create a radius of 3 inches from the endpoint of my existing straight line going down and to the left. The best way to do this for us is going to be to create a circle and then cut half that circle off. So here we're going to place a circle, not on the center point, but to the left of that point. Start your circle anywhere over here. And like I said, we're going to use dimensioning to place it anyways. Create the circle, give it a 3-inch radius or 6-inch diameter, and then use a placement dimension to go from the center point of the circle to that vertical line that we created. If it's a 3-inch radius, then the center point of the circle needs to be exactly 3 inches from our center endpoint of our line. Now that we have that circle created, we're going to come back up the left side of this circle with a new line. That line in particular is going to start, again, parallel to the center point of the radius. And then that line is going to continue up 32 inches, but we have to subtract the 3-inch radius we're starting with and the 2.5-inch radius we're going to end with. So 3 plus 2.5 is 5.5. 32 minus 5.5. Well, again, you guessed it. I'm not going to do that math on my own. I'm going to let the computer do it for me. So I'm going to go in here, select Straight Line Tool. I want to make sure that I start in the origin of the center point of the circle, but don't click. This is just going to allow us to snap our feature parallel to the center point. Left click to start your line on the left side of that circle, and then draw up. Like I said before, the length of that line when you originally create it doesn't matter because we're going to change its dimension anyways. We said that we wanted 32 minus 5.5. So that's what I'm going to type in here as a calculation for my dimension line. When I hit enter, you're going to see that it gives us that line and it extends it way up here beyond where we need to be at the top of our part. The next thing we're going to do is create our second circle at the top. 2.5 inches is the radius for this second circle. So I want to make sure that I have my center of my circle started parallel to the end point and then dimension the circle to 2.5. create a circle parallel to the endpoint of our first line. Don't click on the endpoint. We don't want to start a circle here. We want to start it next to it. So I'm just going to bring it out parallel to it, start my circle, give it that dimension of 2.5 for a radius, which in diameter is going to be 5. Then I want to place a dimension from the center point of the circle to that left line I created, and this should be 2.5. Before we start bringing our next line down, I want to make sure that I trim off the inside of this lower circle. So select the trim tool and then click on the top part of that lower circle. This is going to free up the space we need in order to come back down and then turn back one more time with our paperclip sketch. We're going to go down from here, and there isn't a dimension given here. So what I'm going to do is apply a dimension for you. Start parallel again to the center point of the circle at the top. Don't click on the center point, but just get yourself parallel to it. Once you've found the tangent point of the circle on the right side, start your line and then draw down. Again, you can terminate this line anywhere because we're going to use the dimension tool to place it. The dimension for this line we're going to use is 23. Now I want to come back in with another circle. This is going to be our final loop, and then we're going to terminate the line up the left-hand side of this circle. This circle is going to align with our original circle. So what I want to do is start a circle. This time I want to be parallel to the center point of our original circle and perpendicular to the line end point. You'll see these two areas turn orange when you've met the center of the two of them. Start your circle here, and this time without a dimension, terminate it at the end point of our last vertical line. From here, select the line tool, go parallel to the center point of our last circle until you reach the tangent point of the circle, and then start your line to finish up. This one I'll let you be creative with. You can terminate this line anywhere you want. Lastly, we're going to trim off the inside of the two circle loops. Finish the sketch by clicking the green check mark area, and now we have a completed paperclip profile. What we're going to do after the paperclip profile is now turn this into a three-dimensional feature by adding a circle perpendicular to the profile. Here's how that works. Select the isometric feature from the small cube on the right-hand side so we can rotate our view. Now we're going to start a sketch on the top plane. Rotate to the top plane and create a circle at the origin point. Remember, this is why we started our profile at the origin. We're creating a perpendicular profile to the existing shape. That way we can sweep this new feature along that profile path we just created. Drop that circle and give it a dimension of 0.25. Rotate back around to the isometric view. Click the green check mark of Sketch 2. And now we want to choose the command in the ribbon called Sweep. The Sweep command is going to allow us to take a profile and follow it along a path. The first thing it wants is to know what sketch profile do you want to use. Select that 0.25 circle you just created. Now it's going to ask you to choose the path you want that to follow along. Select Sweep Path and then choose each individual line and arc that we created in our original sketch. Click the green check mark, and this will complete the paperclip profile using the Sweep command. From here, we're going to create the drawing sheet. Click the plus sign next to Part Studio 1 in the lower left corner of your screen. Select Create Drawing. Choose No Views and the ANSI tab, and then click OK. Now that the drawing view sheet has opened, we have Part 1 that we can select. Bring Part 1 into the front view first. Transfer your view up to the top view. Transfer your view over to the right side view, and then transfer your view to the upper right-hand corner. Given the small profile of the object itself, we're going to need to get in pretty close to do some dimensioning. Copy over the dimensions as you see them from the Google Doc. I like to go in the same order in which I created the object. My first dimension will be the original line length of 12 inches. My next dimension will be the radius of the lower circle. Then I'll follow that along with a dimension from endpoint to endpoint, showing us our 32-inch dimension. Round that off with a radius for the top circle, line length for our third line, radius for our third circle, and then line length for our final line. Again, this one is up to you, so it doesn't really matter what dimension you have written there. Now that the dimensions for my object are complete, click Share, choose me to share it with, and hit Share. Again, guys, thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed this video. Once you finish the paperclip, feel free to get in and explore the sweep command a little bit further and see what you can come up with. Thanks for watching.